Good morning, and welcome to the May 18th, 2023 meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Vidor,
Here.
Commissioner Yang,
Here.
and Chairperson Vyar.
Here.
Vice Chair Tefenki and Commissioner Zadorian are absent. Agenda item 1A, report of the recorder regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for the May 18th, 2023 regular meeting of the Glendale Arts and Culture Commission was posted on May 15th, 2023 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Agenda item 2A, consent items, minutes of the regular Arts and Culture Commission meeting of March 16th, 2023, and the special Arts and Culture Commission meeting of April 5th, 2023.
Thank you. Is there anyone requesting separate consideration of these items? If not, may I have a motion then?
I had
you do?
I'm sorry. I had just a minor tweak on the regular meeting minutes. And in the beginning, I think 6A, the motion is stated twice, and it could just be, we approve ACE, motion, second, everybody votes. So one of those just needs to be eliminated.
Okay. We'll make sure to edit that.
That's
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vidor. In that case, then, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of March 16th with the amendment?
I so move.
Second?
Thank you.
Roll call, Commissioner Vidor,
Yes.
Commissioner Yang,
Yes.
and Chairperson Vyar.
Yes.
Agenda item 3A.
We still need to then approve separately the minutes of the April 5th meeting. May have a motion. The minutes of,
I wasn't there. Can I?
you still have.
It's okay.
Mhm.
I move to approve the special meeting minutes of April.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call, Commissioner Vidor,
Yes.
Commissioner Yang,
Yes.
and Chairperson Vyar.
Yes.
Okay. Agenda item 3A, Library Arts and Culture Events, presented by Jennifer Fukutomi Jones, Principal Arts and Culture Administrator.
Thank you, Commissioners. We are delighted to share our library report for this month. Join us in celebrating Asian American Pacific Island Heritage Month. We have a great lineup of activities for this month, whereas we pull up the report here. On Saturday, May 20th, from 2 to 4 at Central Library's Makerspace, learn how to create vivid paintings inspired by anime with just acrylic paint. Oh, go one more forward. Yep. Oh, one more. Oh, other way. Other way. Yeah, there you go. No worries. Participants are encouraged to bring 8.5 by 11 printed images to work on. On Wednesday, May 24th, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at Pacific Park Library, create a boba keychain to take home. Supplies will be provided. Receive 1 hour of community service by providing feedback for future teen projects. And for more information, you can visit the link on the screen. Next slide. GLAC invites you to join a series of virtual author talks in partnership with the Library Speakers Consortium. On Saturday, May 20th at 11 a.m., join Courtney Summers, who is the best-selling and critically acclaimed author of several novels and young adults, including Cracked Up to Be, All the Rage and Sadie. Her work has been released to multiple starred reviews, received numerous awards and honors, including the Edgar Award, John Spray Mystery Award, Sibelius Award, Odyssey Award, and International Thriller Award, and has been recognized by many libraries as best of and Reader's Choice lists. For more information on these programs, visit the link on the screen. Looking for a fun, rewarding way to save your beloved household items and cherished possessions? Join us on Saturday, May 20th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Glendale Central Library's auditorium for a repair event that can help you do just that. Skilled volunteer tinkerers and stitchers, as well as other specialty repair persons, will be there to help you. For more information, visit the link on the screen. On Saturday, May 20th at 5 p.m., join us for a performance by Bernard Brown, BB Moves, which was founded in 2014 and began as a call to action. The company will present a mixed repertory performance entitled Bricks, Sugar, and Box. The performance will take place on the Plaza Brand Library and Art Center, and for more information, visit the link on the screen. The Reflect Space Gallery, Glendale Library Arts and Culture and Craft Contemporary presents Tactics of Erasure and Rewriting Histories, an exhibition that highlights diverse artworks documenting acts of reclamation and removal as a process of making history. The 5 exhibiting artists use archival and forensic materials, found objects, and casting to investigate how state-sanctioned censorship create a system of oppression that impacts their sense of identity. This exhibit is currently on display through May 26th at Central Library. For more information, visit the link on the screen. And last up, Don't Believe Everything You Think is an exhibition that explores how artists manage the universal impulse of negative self-talk through their artistic practice. Working across multiple disciplines, painting, collage, sculpture, photography, performance, video, and sound, the 14 featured artists exert concerted efforts to push past, accept, or prevail over their own negative self-talk. Through the sanative process of their art, from genesis to creation and finally presentation, they have learned that the best is not always what they believe, everything you believe. The exhibit is currently on display through June 16th at Brand Library, and for more information, visit the link on the screen. And that is the library report.
Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 4, oral communications. We have somebody on the line. Hi, Gangam, you're on the air with the Arts and Culture Commission. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Arsen. Oh, and there's a big echo. Anyways, my name is Arsen. I represent the team of Geram. We were invited to this call in case if we can provide any, clarification regarding the model that we submitted.
Thank you.
That's the context I have. Thank you for the attention, and sorry if this is not the right time. We just dialed in the number. We will talk to.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll make sure to plug you in when your presentation is arised. Thank you. This is from Gegam Abrahamian's team. They're not available.
Were there other oral communications? Is that it?
No, no
Okay.
other oral communications.
Okay, agenda item 5, written communications. There are none. Agenda item 6A, action items, citywide public art landmarks RFQ, design concept proposals for Central Park ground level artwork. Motion recommending that the city council authorize the city manager or designee to enter into an agreement for commission of artwork with an artist/artist team to design, fabricate, and install a public art piece for the Central Park ground level sculpture in an amount not to exceed $100,000 dispersed from the Urban Art Program Fund.
Chair Beyer, Gary Schaefer, Director, Library Arts and Culture. Just to clarify that this piece will be, whichever one is chosen, will be in the northeast quadrant of the park that is being replanned for Central Park and not adjacent to the planned Armenian American Museum. Thank you.
Thank you for
And
that
then we'd like
clarification.
to introduce consultant Bo Bass to talk to us about this commission and these artists and work. Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Bo Bass, the LaBass Projects. We're the art consultant that's been working with the city on the series of art opportunities across the city. And today we're looking at some slightly revised installations that originally were going to be in the Central Park in front of the new museum and library, but has been shifted into the sort of the northwest corner. With the park renderings, there are no renderings of the new area where we're looking to locate the sculpture. So please excuse, I think some of the artists have renderings, utilizing some of the old locations in front of the new Armenian American Museum, but that is not where this will be placed. That is just for visual purposes only. Again, there are not renderings of the new location where the sculpture will be located.
Thank you.
Yeah, do I have, oh, okay. That works, right? You can try. Okay.
What?
Okay. Where do I point somewhere? Or?
It'll work because it's a
I don't
PDF.
think-
That's what I was
Okay.
trying to share.
Okay, so we have 3 artist presentations. Okay. Yeah, we can just slide through. The first presentation is from Blaine de Saint Croix. I think we can probably skip through some of these. Let's move forward to the rendering. I think this is past work. Okay, so this project is called Memory Garden. The idea is that it's a sort of a ground level sculpture that will be connected to the Armenian Museum, really focused on Glendale's like diverse community, and the idea I think that will be fairly engaging with the community. We can keep scrolling forward. Some of the inspirations. All right, I think we can.
Excuse me, can we go back to the picture of it, of the work itself, or?
That's we're getting to that.
Oh, I thought it was before this.
I think that was past work.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
okay.
And again, we can go through this a little slower. And it was bullet pointed, but just so we can make sure that the sort of questions are sort of answered in advance. Wish I had control. Let's go back 2 slides. Sorry. Okay, so Memory Garden is really designed to connect and have some detailed connections with both the Armenian culture, specifically because this is so located in such close proximity to the museum, but also to highlight Glendale's other diverse communities. And I think Blaine's team really looked at the City of Glendale's commitment to sort of the tree and canopy program, and a focus on nature's sort of like healing power, I think is a prevalent theme through Blaine's body of work. Next slide. And again, these are sort of, public art in general, but I think for this project, Blaine and his team really wanted to create a space for people and really have people create an artwork that people felt they have ownership and direct connection with. Go to the next slide. And again, the idea of Memory Garden is really to have a direct physical engagement with the public, especially in this sort of park setting. A little bit about his sort of the research, this sort of idea of the tree of life, really has a connection across, multiple cultures, and you see it as sort of, trees being connected to, iconography around the world. We can keep going. Let's get to the images, maybe. Okay, and then some of the specific details, connecting like sort of the pomegranate tree. And again, I think a lot of this comes from pomegranate being a really important fruit and tree in Armenian culture. The forget-me-not flower and its sort of connection to the Armenian genocide. And again, I think, having a special place in this community. And sort of the continued symbolism. So this sculpture's location will actually be in the sort of northern quadrant. Yeah, okay, yeah, we can keep moving forward. So this is really more of like a landscape-based installation where it'll create this sort of path, this a pair of stainless steel like cutouts, the path surrounded by landscaping. With sort of embedded trees. You can sort of see the plan for the trees above the sort of the path. We can go back one, actually. Hold on one. Again, this is sort of a cross section. The idea is that this installation will be landscape-based, but sort of be, two connected sculptures on either side of a pathway. And again, so this will be sort of a landscape-based installation. Sort of a plan for the flowers and shrubs and trees. Details on the different expected plantings. And some sort of background on the canopy for us. We can keep moving. So these are the laser cut stainless steel panels that'll be embedded. The idea these will be almost 10 feet in diameter, so fairly sizable on either side of the pathway. And again, representing the sort of tree of life. And this will be the piece on the companion piece on the other side. Sort of showing the, we can go back one, sorry. Showing the roots into the ground as well as the tree. Keep going. And some material details. A combination of brushed steel, stainless steel, polished, and all of the actual design will be laser cut out of the steel. We like that this was fairly well thought out in terms of both, we can go back one, sorry. Both the detail of the plants and you know, the foliage should be planted, and the fact that there's like a long-term sort of maintenance, prevention and conservation plan. And again, this has been pretty well thought out in the fact that it's ADA accessible. So this is not one of those, you know, we've seen installations in the past where, you know, it's hard to access. The whole purpose of this concept plan is that it is completely accessible by all members of the community. And I think that's it. Detailed budget plan. And some final renderings of the stainless steel panels.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Bass regarding this proposal?
Commissioner Rohr?
Commissioner Vidor?
Two. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we actually
The
go back a slide to the renderings?
The
just so we
question
can-
was, my mic wasn't on, I'm sorry. The question was how many steel cuts, and you said 2, and they're embedded in the ground.
Yes, there are 2
Okay.
panels. We can keep going back one. Keep going. Sorry.
And,
I think 1 or 2 more. One more.
and then,
There it is. So you
yeah.
can see the panels on
I
the
see.
other side.
And that pathway is how many feet long?
It's variable because we still has to be sited, but if you imagine each of the steel panels are 10 feet in diameter, the pathway can be anywhere between 50 to 100 feet long.
Mm-hmm. And I realize there's been a relocation here of this piece to the northeast corner, and it's kind of hard to envision in terms of existing landscaping. You know, to me, this looks like a beautiful, if we had a landscape architect in the city of Glendale, which we don't, that we would, you know, have a landscaping done, but I'm trying to figure out and landscaping is beautiful and necessary, and we need more enriched landscaping in our parks, but I'm trying to figure out where how the sculptural piece, the hard sculpture, reads and telegraphs to the public in relationship to everything else. Because I assume there are other plants in the area now. There must be trees and other...
Well, right now there's nothing.
There's nothing, it's a zero.
It's a
Okay,
zero.
so that's a blank slate you're working with.
It's a blank slate. There is a playground being sort of put in there, and then there's a open grass area as well. And I think the idea this would be sited, and we'd probably work with parks to figure out the exact location and the best utilization of this. And again, that's why I say that the length of the pathway, it's fairly variable. This is not set that it has to be in this exact shape. the idea is that it's a connected pathway between the two landmark.
And the two steel cuts connected by the pathway, what is the material of the pathway again? Could you?
Chair Byer, Commissioners, Commissioner Vidor, the city has contracted with a park planner to work on this. So when this contract is awarded to whichever artist it is awarded, that person will be connected with that park planner so that all of those details can be worked out. It really depends on which piece we go with. So that's why we haven't, we've connected with them somewhat, but we have to choose the piece and then we can get with that. So, but they will, figure out all that siting and where it goes. I would say the constant is likely the recommendation of the flora, because that is very germane to it. And then obviously the 10-inch diameter of the pieces, and they do have to be separated somewhat. I mean, the whole picturing of the piece, they would have to be separated, couldn't be adjacent to each other. So thank you. Just wanted to let you know that there was a park planner that was working on the project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else, Commissioner Vidor?
Thank
No?
you.
Okay. Commissioner Yank?
Sure, just a quick question and a comment. I was wondering if there would be any interpretive signage as part of this project, or if that's a potential.
No, it's a good question. I think our expectation would be that not just for this piece, but for all the pieces, there will be some signage. Where the signage goes and sort of the details that goes in there hasn't been planned. But I would imagine the case would be, we would have to have signage with the artist's information, the title, the materials of the work. And I think in particular for a work like this, it would make the most sense to have some kind of a narrative signage as well.
Yeah, that brought it to mind, just the significance of these plants in this space. And my only comment is just in my work outside of this, kind of talking to a lot of indigenous tribes, just the fact that a lot of these plants are not native plants. Like, it seems like some maybe are, and it does seem like they're drought tolerant and have been very carefully selected. That's just giving me a little pause, just that they're not native plants. But I understand the cultural significance and relevance of them.
Those are good questions, especially about like drought tolerance, because obviously these plants will have to be maintained by the city and the Parks and Rec. I would say my guess is, Blaine's team is not here to answer these questions, but once we start, if his team was selected to work on this, I think there's certainly the possibility to work with parks and the arborists and the park planners to revise some of the, find native plants that might work better, that still can have that same sort of significance potentially as they're planning. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And my first reaction was with regard to the maintenance and the need for watering, the need for pruning, and all of that. I agree with Commissioner Yank that we do, it would be real important to have the significance somehow on plaques or something displayed. But could we possibly roll back to that maintenance
Yeah.
piece?
A couple of pages forward, there's a conservation maintenance page. It's after this, a couple slides after this. The next one.
Another one.
Here we go.
There, okay. Yes, so I see that that the plan was made according to our climate zone, but yeah, I have a property with lots of dying things on it, and when there are watering restrictions put into place, that changes how, what the plants are going to look like, and so that's a concern for me.
Well, looking at this detail, they make a note that all these plants selected are drought tolerant. And again, I think we would probably have to work, and maybe some of the proposed plants maybe don't make it based on, recommendations from the park planner and Parks and Rec. But I think, some of those details can be worked on. And certainly, an installation like this might be different than a marble sculpture that has like no maintenance besides, annual cleaning.
Right.
But my guess is that there will be some parks and, landscaping there already. So hopefully this can be tied into their sort of,
Oh, yeah.
regular maintenance
To the
and
regular maintenance
schedule. Yeah.
schedule, yes. That makes sense. Thank you. And pomegranate tree blooms are beautiful. It's a really lovely tree, so glad they selected that. But anyway, thank you, Bo, for that. Do we have another round? Questions? You okay? Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, so why don't we move on to the next concept?
For the record, we spent 15 minutes on that, including questions, so we should try and keep each of the discussions to that. Thanks.
Okay, concept from Gagam Abramayan.
So you'll present, and then we'll have him come on for public comment
Yeah.
for the 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move forward. Let's talk about budget. Okay, let's come back around. Oh, here we go. Okay, we can actually go back to the beginning. Okay, next page. Mr.
Abrahamian.
A little tongue-tied this morning.
I'm sure he wouldn't mind if you referred to him as
Gagam. Thank you. We've been referring to him as Gagam in our meetings. Installation, really committed to the cultural diversity of Glendale. The idea was initially to really connect with the surrounding environment, in particular the Armenian American Museum when these were originally concepted. Wanted to have a very distinctive piece and really tell a story with it. So we can go to the next slide. These are some past examples of Gagam's work and sort of a model of his proposed concept. Really wanted to honor sort of the roots and history of the Armenian community and focus on the future, particularly in the Glendale neighborhood. This will be a stainless steel sculpture that again is sort of active and engaging for the community. You can see the ability to actually interact with this piece. Next slide. And open to some variation, and I think the variations come about because it was originally scaled for the Central Park in front of the museum, and now with it being shifted to the north sort of corner of this into the park, because we don't have final renderings and exact details of this, the landing spot for this, where we talked about the previous installation, potentially variable in scale, I think this would also be variable in scale to make sure that it fits the space that it's going to be sitting in. So some variations on.
So I'd like to point out the visual in the lower right. There is a pathway in that area, and to me that represents a gateway. So something like that, scaled properly, should be able to work well over the pathway.
Next slide. One of the things that I think Gagam's team really wanted to do was have an active community engagement process, if selected moving forward. I think that will inform some of the final design of this. A little bit of a timeline on installation. We can keep moving forward. Details on the budget. Keep going. This is something he's working on right now. This is basically current work. Let's keep moving. Let's go back to that slide with the images. Keep going. There you go. We can sit on this one.
Do you want to
Yeah,
bring
sure.
Gagam on the line?
Yeah, let's bring Gagam's team on.
Hi, Gagam, you're on the line with the Arts and Culture Commission.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for the opportunity and having us here. I am here. My name is Arsene. I'm part of Giram's team. I'm here to clarify any questions that the committee might have. The original concept, as was mentioned, it was really designed to speak the volume and to emphasize the longer-term effects of a simple, small change that is initiated by a human in the beginning. We are ethnic Armenians. Most of Giram's team is ethnically Armenian, and we really felt that connection with the United States in our, let's say, in our personal lives, in our own skin. So we wanted to express it through the culture. Because the site is being changed and we unfortunately don't have all the details, we wanted to extend our commitment to the committee to be as flexible as possible within the reality series that the artist is experimenting with recently. So we tried to put together different sculptures that have the same resonancing effect and emphasizing the change in the small change becoming a much larger change in the end with time and then effort and the willingness from the human that initiate that change. But we tried to play around with various shapes and different scales so that we can be flexible depending on how the end landmark, which one is the ending landmark is going to be. If there's anything to clarify, I'll be more than happy to do so.
Commissioner Vidor, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much for your lovely presentation. I was just curious, it looks like, you say the material is stainless steel, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, the original material is stainless steel.
Right, and it looks like it's a certain color that I wouldn't associate with stainless steel, so I wondered, is there a paint coating or something else on top of the stainless steel, or is it just plain stainless steel?
Yes, the original, the big one, I can't see the screen, unfortunately, because I'm just pulled in. But the original, the bigger sculpture, it had the idea of being colored with rust and a lot of earthy colors that allow it to blend in better with, the environment and speak to more fundamental, to more longer lasting and coming from a huge historical background thing. However, we are, again, as we don't know, we have the full commitment. We want to extend our full commitment to the community that we can color it and polish it to the way that it allows us to blend it with the environment as naturally and seamlessly as possible.
Okay, and this might be more of a question for you, Bo, but you mentioned something about community input because the piece is so malleable in terms of its shape and positioning that you would have a public meeting. Did I understand that correctly? Or just bring it back to the commission, or what would be?
Arson can maybe speak to this, but I think in their proposal, there was a community engagement period of time where I think, Arson, correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea was that you would connect, we would probably work with his team to, set up some community engagement meetings to get a better sense of like what the community's looking for, get a little more in depth in the final design of this piece.
Great, okay.
Correct. If I may add, especially with the change in the location, we hear that it can be potentially close to a playground, which can, put certain additional requirements that we're more than happy to honor them. But we wanted to get the feel of the community and speak with the community to match it to the expectations.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we like that, there's some somewhat realized ideas and concepts here. But also, even with the time we've given the artist, we don't really give them the financial resources to really dig into some of the community engagement and the time that goes into that at this stage. But these kinds of concepts hopefully are an opportunity to say, okay, we really like this artist, we like the general concept moving forward, and then getting into final design stages, oftentimes, I think we've talked about it here in other projects, is there's usually some changes involved, whether it's engineering, fabrication, or budgeting, further community engagement to continue to refine the concepts on a proposal like this.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Commissioner Yank?
Yes, I'm also very excited that a community engagement process is being proposed, especially with us not knowing all the details of the final siting of the piece yet, and some of the safety and accessibility requirements, which were one of my concerns. So it's great to hear that that would be something the artist would be addressing. I was just curious, on the pillar, it's hard to see, but of the original design, it looks like there were some panels on it. And I was just curious if there was like a text element that the artist was interested in incorporating into this. I might just be misreading the image.
Arson, maybe that's a question for you. I don't think that's anything we've discussed.
Yes, we haven't discussed that. We are open to suggestions, especially like as I'm hearing into certain, contextual about the sculpture or about why it is here. It can be added, but I have to be honest here. The original, it's more of a texture feeling than a text. We didn't have a particular text in that, but we'll absolutely be happy to add the contextual piece as a text on the border. It also depends which sculpture ends up going in. It depends on the site, right? That's like a little bit hard to answer the question deterministically right now. If the original one goes, 100% yes. If the smaller one goes, it might change the scale and make it not viable for a test.
Great. And it seems like that could also be something addressed in interpretive signage to add more context to the work. So great, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Yank. I particularly like the lower right-hand corner variation because I like the movement of it, and I think it's a beautiful gateway. And just thinking about that, the new site, I think that would be just a wonderful addition. And we'll find out, I guess, in community engagement. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arson.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Artem.
Thank you.
Okay, we can move to the new house.
Okay, final concept. This is interlaced from Newhouse. Just some samples of past work we can zip through. These artists really like, a lot of their work is really sort of fun, engaging. One of the reasons we sort of selected them for this project. We can keep moving. Okay, so Interlace is actually also again, from the original siting in front of the Central Park, in front of the Armenian American Museum. This is a, physical sculpture which is designed to be actually engaged with physically by the public. It's sort of designed as a knot, as an interlaced, and never a sort of like infinity loop knot, which is also has a direct reference from sort of an Armenian knot in Armenian history. So again, we like that it's very physically tactile and active for the community. Has a direct reference to the museum located next door and to the Armenian community in Glendale. Can we keep moving? Kind of see some of the detail, some of their past work and references, some of their reference images. And again, just as a reminder, these renderings are from in front of the Armenian American Museum, but this is not where it will be located. This will be located in the upper northeast quadrant. And again, just some of the details about the idea of this creating a community space, a gathering space. Keep going. One thing they noted is there is some flexibility in the design and the scale of this. Again, depending on where this ends up being sited, it can be either expanded or contracted in scale a little bit to fit. And this will be made out of wood.
But important to note, salvaged wood, so it is reclaimed redwood.
Which will, create some ongoing maintenance, but would also, sustainable material has been used historically in, parks, in some public sculptures, and I believe they have a conservation maintenance plan in here as well. Just some assembly details. Budget, keep going. Timeline, we can keep going through this. Maybe they didn't include, but we did talk with them. There is a maintenance plan for the wood, for being sealed on an annual basis.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Bass regarding this proposal?
No. Commissioner Yang, any questions, comments?
No, I don't have any questions on this one.
I have some questions. I have a serious concern about liability with this piece. It's on public property, and I think on public property in California, there needs to be shock-absorbing surface underneath it. And this, I don't think grass qualifies as that. I'm not sure what the materials are that they use, but I know it has to extend 6 feet out from the structure itself where children might be climbing. There's a lot of grass here, and it's hard for me to relate it to where it's going, where it actually would be sited, but there's also a distance requirement from walkways and that kind of thing for any structure that a child would be climbing on.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that there are large grass areas in the northwest quadrant as well, and I think that, even though this rendering is in front of the museum, I think looking at it over the grass, and again, I'm not qualified to speak to any liability concerns or, shock absorbing ground. Certainly, again, like the other installations, if we were going to move forward with Newhouse's team, We can work with the park planner to figure out exactly the location and to alleviate some of those concerns, but I
Right.
mean, I think those are good things to think about.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Will.
All right, thank you.
At this point, Commissioners, I think we can move forward with comments on decisions on what you would like to move forward as the first recommendation and the second recommendation for this proposal.
Okay. Commissioner Vidor?
So now we're giving our recommendations for first place and runner-up, okay? Okay, well, I would like to consider as the first place, the middle piece, which is the stainless steel piece. What I like about that is that it's bold, visible. It's going to be visible from everywhere, including outside the park and within the park. It's interesting and thought-provoking because even though it has a lot of cultural references attached to it, they're subject to interpretation. It's a very abstract piece that has an explanation, and people of different cultures and points of view can think of what they want to think of. I particularly liked the sample on the lower right corner that had a lot of squiggles and lines with it to go over a pathway, even though that piece isn't super interactive in the same way the third piece is, it still is, it can be, it's a good photo opportunity, it can be touched, it can be interacted with. And I love the fact that there's a plan here to take that piece and that the artist is open enough to present different viewpoints on how the piece would be rendered and let the public, and that would be obviously our responsibility, not his, but that we could do that we could have public engagement. I don't think we've done that yet with a specific piece, and this would be an excellent piece to do that. I think, not only does it have the potential to be a beautiful and very significant piece of public art, but it also can bring the community together. So those are the things I like about it. Having said that, there is one thing, in the past when things have gone to city council, they said, oh, is this dangerous? Is it going to tip over? And it does, so I would ask, does it have sharp edge? Can we address any issues and anticipate any questions that might come up about surfaces, angles, sharp edges, or stability, which I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do that. So that's my first choice. And my second choice, which is, I don't want to say far down, but is the third piece, because it's interactive and it's also subject to interpretation. I don't think it's as strong, though, and, I think boldness and audacity and, the wow factor comes in a little stronger with the second piece. But that would be my runner-up piece. And maybe, I don't know what we do with the runners-up and the other ones that don't make it into the game, but, perhaps the Parks Department or, that might be useful somewhere else outside the realm of the urban art program. But I do want to say something about the first piece, because although it's extremely beautiful, I just feel like, one of the main things that we talk about in my neighborhood a lot is, the ability to have a beautiful and cohesive landscape plan with a landscape architect overseeing it in Glendale, which we currently don't have. And to me, that piece speaks very much to what we should be doing with our public landscaping, and it doesn't have enough oomph in terms of its visibility and boldness visually to read as a sculptural piece. It's beautiful landscaping, but it doesn't have quite enough there. So I would hand that over to Parks and say, put that in as a landscaping project, but not for this purpose. So those are my choices.
Thank you, Commissioner Vidor. Commissioner Yank?
Yeah, I would be in agreement with Commissioner Vidor's rankings. So Geggum's piece first. I also am really attracted to the kind of gateway design, but also excited and interested to see what community members react to, and what their thoughts are. I agree. I think the Neuhaus piece would be my second second choice, the runner-up.
Thank you. I agree with my fellow commissioners in the first choice, Gigham's piece, and actually in the variation as well. As for a second piece, I'm torn because I have concerns about both of them. I like the knot. I like the concept behind the knot, but concerns about liability with that. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Shall I restate the motion? It appears as though the first recommendation is Gegam Abrahamian's reality series, and the second recommendation is Neuhaus Interlaced. Is that accurate, Chairperson? Okay. I can restate the motion so that you can then move to approve it.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
I'll get a little closer to the microphone. I'm going to restate the motion with the artist's name so that you can then move to approve it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Motion recommending that the City Council authorize the city manager or a designee to enter into an agreement for commission of artwork with first recommendation Gegam Abrahamian Reality Series and second recommendation Neuhaus Interlaced to design, fabricate, and install a public art piece for the Central Park ground level sculpture in an amount not to exceed $100,000 dispersed from the Urban Art Program Fund.
Okay.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Roll call, Commissioner Vidor,
Yes.
Commissioner Yang,
Yes.
and Chairperson Viar.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, motion's carried. Thank you.
So moving on to agenda item 6B, citywide public art landmarks RFQ number 2, LeBass Projects. Motion approving proposed locations for public art landmark pieces to be included as part of the citywide public art landmarks RFQ number 2 and the application review process to be managed by LeBass Projects on behalf of the City of Glendale.
Okay, hello again. All right, thank you, everybody. If we can go to, just to refresh, we're in the process of selecting 10 locations across the city. 6 have already been approved here at Commission, approved by City Council, and are in various stages moving forward. What we're looking to do today is select the next 4, the final 4 locations for the next series of artists. So let's take a look at, again, just to refresh everybody, these are the 6 initial locations and some of the artworks that have been selected in concept to move forward. So just looking at the map, just to get a sense of where everything is, locations 1 through 6, and we have 4 new opportunities to present today. Fremont Park, installations in the city of Montrose, or in the neighborhood of Montrose, Palmer Park, and revisiting Patterson Avenue 134 tunnel. Let's move forward. Fremont Park was on our initial list. That park, as has gone through its development, I think initially we were looking at some sculpture pads, then we were looking at mural opportunities, and right now what we're looking at is a new splash pad that's being developed at that park. And these renderings are not artist renderings, these are from Parks and the proposed splash pad. We can move forward. And the thought is to allocate some public artwork to the splash pad. So we would work with an artist to design some pieces that would either be integrated into the splash pad installations or in or around the splash pad. This is something that we've seen happen with LA County, LA County's Parks and Recs. Recently, as they've developed some splash pads, some artwork have gone into those or are in the process of being selected for those splash pads. So this is not a foreign concept in terms of adding public art into a real active community engagement point like the splash pad. The second location, we spent quite a bit of time and several site visits with Montrose's shopping park, the association is the word I'm looking for. So we've met with their boards on several occasions. The group in Montrose is very, very excited about these concepts, and I think as a group and as their board, what we determined is to look at, next slide please. There are a series of these circular benches up and down Honolulu Boulevard. I believe there are 3 benches like this. There are a couple of other that are these circular platforms. There's some other longer benches. And the idea is to commission an artist to either adorn these in a painted installation or sort of refresh these existing benches. They are really great potential community engagement points that are existing that at the current stage seem fairly depressed. They're not getting the activation that I think they were originally designed for. And we all thought, especially the Montrose Shopping Park Association's board, all felt that adding some enhancements to these, whether it's sculptural, whether it's painted, again, once we commission artists for this, the idea is that we would add some new life to these sort of community benches.
If I could, what I'd like to say about those is leave it to the Romans or the Greeks, but the circles are very, I don't know when they were built, but they're in excellent shape, like, as far as they're not falling apart, they're not, so I think that's one reason we were also drawn to them as a group.
Yeah, that's a good point. Structurally, I think they're in very good shape. You can just tell that they're not getting the utilization that they were designed for, and I think some of that is the fact that they're almost too nondescript. But we all really like these as with some kind of visual enhancements to become that shopping park, that street with the restaurants, the retail, coffee shops. We could really all envision that these sort of circular benches could be really organic moments of community, of activation and just enhance public space. We are all still really excited and trying to find a park to do a basketball park mural. We've looked at various parks across the city of Glendale. I think Palmer Park is a park that Parks and Rec actually pointed out to us in our conversations with them, where Parks and Rec is looking to do something at this court. It's a little bit more active of a basketball court as well, and some of the other parks we looked at. Just to refresh, a basketball park mural wouldn't necessarily be like house paint painted, but actually pigmented asphalt. So there should not be safety concerns. This has been done in a lot of parks across the country where it's custom pigmented asphalt to mimic the artist's design versus somebody actually hand painting it. So there are not slip issues. It is the same asphalt that would, instead of just being green and blue, it would actually be pigmented and asphalt spread in an artist's design. We looked at a lot of other locations, and we've been here, and just to refresh the commission's memory, we looked at different locations. All had various challenges. Some of the locations that were proposed by commission for various reasons, we're not able to utilize, which brought us back to this potential light installation at Patterson Avenue, the 134 tunnel. Again, this is across from Fremont Park. This was discussed, but we kind of keep coming back to it because it's a highly trafficked, it's like a shockingly high traffic, foot traffic through this tunnel. It currently has graffiti issues. It's dark. The lighting in there right now is like really substandard. Those are things that probably have to be addressed anyways. And we thought, again, creating some kind of lighting installation portal through this would create really a fantastic space. I think it would alleviate some safety concerns in the tunnel. We've talked with a lighting consultant that does these kind of installations about the conservation and maintenance, and they felt that they could they have lighting like this that can go into something like this that is not as prone to damage as even though fluorescent lighting that's in there now. And also being lit would actually probably alleviate graffiti concerns as well, because if it's a well-lit tunnel, people are less likely to sort of camp in there and try to add graffiti, versus right now it being just a really dark tunnel. So we've kind of keep coming back to that as an opportunity. So those are the 4 locations we're looking at. And I think at this stage, from our perspective, we've looked at a lot of locations across the city. We've taken a lot of feedback, from the commission, from Parks and Rec, from various departments. And some of the other opportunities that we've looked at are not, for various reasons, are not things that we can actually accomplish. So these are sort of some of the locations that I think we're looking to finalize.
Okay. Thank you. Comments, questions? Commissioner Vidor?
I have to remember what I just saw. On the Montrose Shopping Park, did you get the impression that they would be amenable? Yeah, I think painting and enhancing those things is a wonderful idea. But would they be amenable to, like, if somebody came along with, like, putting halos, so that when you're sitting on them, you've got, did they seem to be amenable to modifying and adding things to the benches?
Yes, absolutely. I think, a lot of, we spent a lot of time with the Montrose group. There are a lot of different ideas we're throwing around, but certainly I think they felt comfortable. We share with them the kind of work we do. I think the Shopping Park Association felt comfortable in, the steps that it would take in terms of like going through commission, looking at artists, selecting concepts. I think they felt comfortable. And I think we told them that we would make sure that we kept the board involved and through the process, so they would have the ability to weigh in on some concepts.
Well, and if I could, I appreciate Bo using the word adorn, because, I could also see a tile artist doing mosaic tile on the benches. But as Bo said, we do want to have them engaged in the selection process and all of that, because that is something they definitely would like to have input on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then on the tunnel, that tunnel has tremendous potential, and I mean, if anybody's been in the United Airlines terminal in Chicago, you know what a lit-up tunnel can look like and how fabulous it could be. But I think, and so, just talking about the public art piece, I'm all for it, but I think the rest of the city, particularly whoever is responsible for the landscaping and even economic development, would have to step up. And it would have to be a multi-department initiative to make that thing a destination. Because if we just put lights in there and nothing else changes, they're going to get destroyed, and it's going to be the same story. So I think the whole area, including the waypoints leading to it and out of it, there has to be good-looking landscape. There probably should be a coffee cart there. I mean, it really needs to be made into more of a destination that people will want to go to. Otherwise, when it's deserted at various times, it may suffer more damage. And, if we're going to spend money on public art, we want it to prevail and be well-maintained. So I think this really needs to be a group effort by the city of Glendale to pitch in on it if we're going to spend money on public art in there.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Vidor. I will make my personal commitment to, bridge, and I want to talk about bridges because we often talk in the city about North Glendale and South Glendale, and in fact, we all assume, but people outside of the city may not know that means north of the 134 or south of the 134. And I think this is literally that piece that bridges, even though it's a tunnel, those two areas. So it is important. It is used a lot. It seems a bit dangerous the way it is now. I think it has so much upside potential. And, I will personally pledge to recruit various departments, towards that effort to make sure that it's, it will become a destination as well as a throughfare that's much used and much needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Yang?
Well, first, I just want to say I really appreciate staff and LaBasse Projects, all of the work that you've done into finding these sites. I know it has not been easy, and there's always a lot of challenges that come up with, I think, identifying really good sites for public art. I'm really happy with all of these selections. I think there's a lot of really amazing potential to improve these spaces. And I'm just looking forward to the selection process.
Thank you. Excuse me. 100% A++++ to staff and UBO on these selections. Apropos of the tunnel, having the splash pad activated in Fremont Park and the other enhancements to Fremont Park will increase the use probably, which is already, as Dr. Schaefer pointed out, heavy in that tunnel. A lot of small houses around there that don't have pools, that small lots, and so they don't have pools. The splash pad will get used a lot, and a lot of people do come through from that, from south of the 134. Now that it's been explained to me that lighting can be recessed and can be thereby protected from damage and vandalism, I'm 100% behind that. I think it'll be a wonderful throughway that will be used even more. And yes, each end will have to have a little bit extra attention paid because there is litter around it right now and no landscaping. But I'm excited. It's going to be great. Thank you
Great,
all
thank you.
for that. So
You can now make a motion to approve.
Will you read?
We don't need to read it. I believe Loreto read the motion, so we can just make a motion to approve. Loreto read the motion.
She read the motion already. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
Roll call, Commissioners Vidor,
yes.
Commissioner Yang,
Yes.
and Chairperson Byer.
Yes.
Thank you, Bo,
Thank
and
you,
thank you
everybody.
to your
Really appreciate
team
the
as
time.
So
well.
much.
Great work.
Okay, we can move forward.
Agenda item 7, discussion items and reports, 2022 through 2023 work plan progress updates.
Commissioners, we have a few updates, I believe, specifically regarding the mural ordinance update. I know it's been a long journey, but we are in the final stages of the draft that is working. We're working with the city attorney's office to provide you with a draft, hopefully by the June meeting. So we'll definitely make sure to share that with you. I believe Commissioner Vidor requested that we have citywide landmark public works artworks update. We had a great update from LaBasse Projects now. But just to briefly go over the 6 other locations that we discussed today. Verdugo Park ground level building mural, we are working diligently with the artist to have the mural installed by October of this year. So we're looking forward to that. Central Park, we just had this update where we chose 2 recommendations for that particular artwork. The 3 locations on Artsock Avenue are still under discussion due to the potential redesign of the street. And last, the Glen Oaks Boulevard median, we are in talks with Water and Power in regards to the fabrication and foundation for that particular artwork. So those are the updates for that particular, those 6 pieces of artworks. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you for that report.
So we're diligently moving forward, which is good. In regard to neighborhood arts, I'm going to hand it over to Loreto Lopez, who has an update regarding the Adams Square Mini Park gas station. On April 5th, the committee did meet with Vice Chair Tufenkian and Commissioner Zadorian to review applications for this opportunity. There were 35 applications, and Loreto's going to review the top recommendations for that program.
Hi, so yes, we received the following recommendations. The first one is House of Cards by artist Rafael Cohen Bakri from July 10th through August 18th of 2023. This installation is a play on the various idioms related to cards in which the artist is now playing with cards but in a different fashion. This installation consists of collages on playing cards on full decks of various sizes, and these will hang from the ceiling with plastic wires at different levels. Next is Letters to Parents by Kevin Lee, installed from August 21st through September 29th, 2023. This installation is a continuation of a 3-year-long project in response to the question, what is something you wish your parents had told you? It consists of letters and artwork collected from people's response to this question, and the gas station will be made to look like a bedroom with materials such as a desk, chair, nightstand, and more. This installation will also include a mailbox, writing space, and materials displayed by the entrance of the Central Library from June 1st through July 31st to give the public the opportunity to answer this question before it's installed at the gas station. The answers submitted in the mailbox during its time at the library will be used by the artist in his installation. Mimi Pachico by Vanessa Marie Gomez will be on display from October 2nd through November 10th. And this will display a paper mache sculpture of an alebrije, which is a fantastical creature popular in Mexico, called Mimi Pachico, which is a mix of raccoon, deer, and swallowtail butterfly with sycamore tree inspirations. This sculpture would rest on top of a wooden platform with an environment surrounding it, including simplified hanging leaves and tree trunks made of paper or fabric. At night, there would be lights and nature sound effects to accompany the installation. The beginning of next year, we'd have Us versus the Weather Change by the Campbell Center from January 15th through March 22nd of 2024. And this installation reflects the challenges with global warming. About 10 associates from the Campbell Center will partake in the project, in which they will decorate umbrellas reflecting the stress and anxiety that climate discourse causes them. The umbrellas will be turned upside down to symbolize shelter and protection, and recycled pillows made to resemble cacti will be at the base of the installation that reflects the environment unknown. A Time for Everything by Vivian Adamian will be on display from March 25th through May 31st. And this installation will be executed by a team of 5 female artists, in which the gas station will be transformed into a cultural greenhouse tea and coffee party with a theme linked to family and community. The ceramicists involved in the project would create a series of 15 geometric terracotta planters of various sizes that would be shaped like teapots, cups, and coffee sets, and rest on small wooden tables, shelves, and chairs, and decorated with an Armenian carpet. The ceramic pieces will hold drought-tolerant plants and other plants suited for the time of year of the installation. Lastly, we'll have Vestiges by John David O'Brien and John Ali from August 19th through October 4th. This installation would have the space divided in half into 2 triangular sections, and each artist will place modified dressers back to back from which there will be abstract traces of their own lives. The objects in the dressers will be those that relate to the artist's names having the same root, resulting in the 2 sides of the room to be complementary but with very different arrays. This piece was originally selected by the committee to install for August through September of this year, but when we met with these artists, they stated they needed more time to prepare for the artwork, so it was moved to August of 2024. Yeah, and overall, we're just excited for these recommendations, and we feel all these installations are different and have something to offer to the community, and all the artists, when we met with them, expressed gratitude and excitement to be a part of the program.
Thank you, Loretto.
Any comments or questions? Any comments or questions?
That's great.
Thank you so much. And then final for our last update is marketing and communications. On May 9th, we did go up, present at City Council in regard to the ACE agency for the public relations firm, and we're happy to share that Council unanimously approved the ACE agency, where we're going to be moving forward with the ACE agency to be our public relations firm to amplify arts and culture activities in the city of Glendale, and we'll go to agreement with them in the next couple weeks. So that is that. Those are the updates for our 2022-23 work plan.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Fantastic.
That's great, yes. A lot of progress.
Update, maybe I missed it somehow. I blinked at the wrong time, but the mural on the intersection of Adams and Palmer, what is the status of
Is this the Creative Crosswalks mural? That's going to be installed potentially sometime in July, I believe, but we can get an update from Public Works.
live this year?
And the other 2 Creative Crosswalks on Broadway in Columbus and Broadway in Galleria Way, those are probably going to be installed in June, but I can get a better update from them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Agenda item 8, commission and staff comments.
Commissioner Vidor?
Oh, great. So much hard work, as usual, being done by everybody, the staff, yourselves, Bo and his team. Thank you all very much for everything you do. The progress is quite amazing.
Thank you. Commissioner Yank?
Yes, I had just a couple of comments. One is a heads up that there is an, I think, upcoming fund coming from the state called Art in the Parks, and Parks California is administrating that fund. there's a portion of that money that I know is specifically meant for non-state parks, so county parks and city parks throughout the region. So just as a heads up, as something to look out for, I don't know if they've quite put out calls for that yet, but something I found out about and thought of Glendale. The other thing I just wanted to think about, just because landscaping and park planning were coming up a lot, is just in regards to kind of our diversity and equity policy and thinking around the Native First Peoples of this region and consultation with them, with new parks planning, with land acknowledgement, obviously, at programs. I just think there's always a lot more that all of us could be doing to make sure that we're consulting with those tribes that have ancestral claims to this land. What kinds of plants, having tribal biologists be part of some of these discussions in terms of what types of plants and what types of landscaping, and also what kinds of access that they could have for culture or ceremony purposes. And I bring it up here just because it is both a cultural concern as well as a parks and landscape concern. So whatever movement we can make, or suggestions, or if there's folks who are part of those departments who are interested, that's work that I've been heavily engaged in, and I'm happy to be part of those discussions.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Yank. We are in regular communications with parks now. We have established meetings between our two departments, so we'll certainly share those thoughts with you, and that grants opportunity. Maybe that could be a joint thing we could work on together. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Just thank you, everybody, for your hard work. Thank you, fellow commissioners, for all of your input. Jennifer, Loretto, Dr. Schaefer, thanks, and Bo, thank you, you and your team. Great. This was all very exciting because I love all the what is ahead of us, what lies ahead. Really exciting projects. Thank you all.
You want to cover the press event we went to last?
I think you can go ahead and share about it.
I have to cover that other item, so I'll let you do that one.
So on May 9th, we are very excited to share that the Glendale Library Arts and Culture Trust is a grantee for the Getty Pacific Standard Time Initiative Art and Science Collide. We're going to be partnering with NASA's JPL on a project called The Stars Collide, and it'll be slated for fall of 2024 through early spring of 25. So we're very excited about that. The exhibit will take place at the Brand Library, and very good things are en route to Glendale, so we're excited about that.
Chair Beyer, if you don't mind, I'd like to share a brief presentation on another item that we are working on. It's potential, so nothing for certain, but just wanted to share with you this possibility. If we could go to the first slide. So we have been in talks with artist Shepard Fairey. You all may be familiar with him. One of the works most people know that's associated with him is he designed the Obama Hope poster for the 2008 presidential campaign. So that's he's local to the Los Angeles area, and so we have had talks with him potentially about a exhibit at Reflect Space. So we're having those talks, but we're also talking to him about the potential of putting Shepard Fairey mural in Glendale. And this would, we're not making decisions today. This is more of an FYI, but just letting you know that this would come before this body, because this body would be the only body capable of funding such an endeavor. So if we could go to the next slide. Just put together some of the artist's mural work in case you were not familiar with it. I believe this piece was in Dallas. Here, if we go to the next one, this is in Paris. Next slide, Lisbon, and I'm not going to get all of these correct. I know that's Lisbon, though. Next one, this one's in the U.S. I'm unsure which city it's in. Next slide, also in the U.S. It's somewhere in the upper Midwest, I believe. Same with this one here. And then the next one is in Austin, Texas. And the following one, I believe, is that one you probably have seen is in West Hollywood. It is on the parking structure adjacent to the West Hollywood Library. It's called the Peace Elephant. So just to familiarize yourself, I think you all are most likely familiar with his work already. So on the next slide, this is the building we're looking at. It is located at 933 South Brand. And I want to thank Commissioner Vidor for introducing me to the building owner. And so we are in just initial talks. You know, she would still have to approve this. If we go to the next slide, I think you're all familiar with this building on South Brand. It is not officially in the historic registry of the city, but it is a 95-plus-year-old building, and it is a historic building in the city. It's the old Beacons. It's often referred to as the old Beacons building, and the Greyhound Bar and Grill is on the first floor. So if we go to the next slide, just a closer up shot of the potential area we'd be covering. I'll actually be going to historic preservation this evening, again, as an FYI, to let them know that this is a potential. It still has to go through many, many hoops, so I can't promise that it's definitely coming, but we're very hopeful. Next slide. This would be, I was asked to put together worst case scenario of how big this mural could be, so I went to the extremes. Yeah, best case. We'll call it best case scenario. So I think in the next slide, this is on the roof. It's a small kind of building that mirrors the building overall. So actually was up on the roof last Friday with the artist team looking at could we potentially rig, because we'd have to use what's similar to window washing booms to go down the side of the building to put the mural in place. So I don't know if there's a next slide or not. Again, just best case scenario. If this were added, that would be up to the artist and the design. So we have not looked at design or what that design would be. Obviously, we govern the mural ordinance, so that too would come back to this commission. But just wanted to let you know about that. I think that's probably, what would this do? I don't have to tell any of you that this would really place Glendale squarely on the arts map of Southern California. We would certainly not be the only city, obviously, that has a Shepard Fairey mural. He has many around. It does further our mission of transforming Glendale into an arts destination. And the other thing it does is it puts a major investment by the city in a part of the city that can sometimes feel neglected, that South Brand area. So just wanted to share that that's something in the works. Again, fingers crossed. There are many landmines ahead of us as we proceed on this, but we're hopeful that that's something we can eventually bring to this body. So wanted to let you know about that. Thank you. And that concludes my staff comment, so thank you.
Thank you. That was a lot.
Agenda item 9, adjournment.
If there are no more comments, we are adjourned.